Hey everyone, it's Christine. Welcome to ParanormalTV if you're new, and welcome back if you're not. I filmed half of this video and I realized that I was out of focus. So hopefully I'm in focus now and I won't get out of focus again and I can get this video done because it's very hot in this room without a fan on. Before we get started on today's video, I do want to put a little disclaimer in the beginning of this video. It is going to be a little bit more controversial, and my goal here is to just investigate something that I was really interested in seeing how it was going to play out, and then some weird things went on with this. So before we get started, I want to say these are allegations, and unless specified, nobody has been convicted of what I'm going to be talking about. The purpose of this video is to not drag anyone's name through the mud. It's just to find the truth. A&E pulled its mini docuseries before it even aired in November of 2018. I was so excited for the series. It was called The Devil Next Door, and the trailer gave me goosebumps. The trailer was intense and interesting and intriguing, and you wanted to find out the truth and you wanted to hear these people's testimonies. And they pulled it, and not a lot has been said since then. So I had it set to record. I wanted to see it. My husband wanted to see it. My mother-in-law wanted to see it. Several people I knew wanted to see this series and were all excited for it. I set it to record. The next day I went to go watch it and it was not there. So before we really dive into the accusations, the claims, the cases, and everything that we're going to talk about, there's a lot here, I want to give you a little bit of a back history to the Word of Faith Fellowship Church. So the Word of Faith Fellowship Church is an evangelical church. It's a Christian church in Spindale, North Carolina. This church has been known for many, many years of forcing strict rules upon its congregation and even allegations of abuse. Though many allegations have surfaced of abuse within the church, no one has ever been convicted, and that is very important to remember. The church was founded by Sam and Jane Whaley. As of 2017, there were 700 members within the church, as well as other churches in the U.S. and outside of the U.S. I know when we think of numbers, there's people who have millions and millions of subscribers, and anyone under that is a small channel. I want you guys to picture your living room and picture 700 people in your living room. Okay? And then think about these people. They have been supposedly abused and hurt by the church and its ministry. So that has a domino effect. That could affect many people in their lives, many family members, many friends. So A&E originally claimed that they were waiting for another statement from the Word of Faith Fellowship. And this was something I found out immediately after they pulled the show, because I was curious as to why is the show not airing? What happened? I looked it up. This was the first thing I found. And I tried to find this statement again, but it's not there on A&E's site anymore. It was there a while ago. I remember reading it. And then they said that they would be adding additional footage to the series, and it was not canceled, just put on hold. It's been more than a half of a year later, and there is still no word on if the show would be airing, and that is pretty suspicious. So Word of Faith Fellowship made claims that the participants in the series were paid off for their interviews. Now, I have a few things I want to say about this. So, people get paid for their interviews all the time. People get paid to compensate them from days they missed on their jobs, or for their airfare, if they took airfare, or their car fare, or whatnot. So they're compensated for their time. This happens more often than not. It's not really that weird. But what is weird is that after pretty much the church highly implying or highly insinuating that A&E was paying the participants to exaggerate or even maybe flat out lie, we don't know, they pulled the series and there's no word of the series airing again. So that is what makes the whole situation weird, and not that they were paid, at least not in my opinion. So I have a statement from A&E, and it says A&E Network premieres new docuseries following ex-members of the controversial North Carolina-based Word of Faith Fellowship Church as they share first-hand accounts of the abuse, harassment, and family separation they have suffered at the hands of the church. This was the statement about the series when it was set to air. The statement from Word of Faith Fellowship Church is, Word of Faith Fellowship denies the allegations that blasting prayer is a form of abuse. So in that statement, we can gather that Word of Faith is admitting that they are blasting prayer. What is blasting prayer, you may ask? I did not know what blasting prayer was until I looked this up. I go to church. No one has ever blasted prayer at me before in my life. In fact, prayer is a very peaceful time in my church. So I was kind of shocked when I found out blasting prayer was pretty intense. So blasting prayer can take place on anyone of any age, of any mental state. So you could be 1 year old and you could be 80. You could be mentally a toddler, or you could be a fully functioning adult. Blasting prayer can be used as a way to remove demons from one's body. Would we go as far as saying that is an exorcism? It's open to interpretation. I would say that to me feels like a form of exorcism. Basically, when you're blasting prayer, somebody is standing there and a group of people are screaming prayers at them. They are demanding devils to leave, and they are shouting and screaming, and it's intense. Another thing that I had noticed were comments from people in the area, and I have screenshots of things that I have found. This church is just a few minutes away from me. I cannot wait to see what they reveal on the show. I'm curious to see what happens because I know they run half the business and I have family in this church. It's my understanding that it's still going to air. I hope it does. I have actually met several people from the church and they are all very friendly people in public. I was even invited there once to pick up an orphaned baby squirrel as I was licensed to rehabilitate wildlife at the time. They were very kind and caring about the squirrel and grateful that I was going to save him. There has been much controversy about the church for many, many years. I don't know what goes on behind closed doors. I just know that they are friendly to the public. I have heard some awful things about them, of course. But I can't bring myself to judge anyone because of their religious beliefs. That being said, if they are truly abusive to children and adults, then by all means they should be punished as anyone else should. My uncle used to be a member of the church till he suddenly died. He was buried the very next day. I can't speak on this. I did try to research this person's name and see if I could find anything, and I couldn't. My dad was WOFF, Word of Faith. He threatened to shoot me because I refused to agree with him that AIDS was God's punishment to evil people. And that is a claim we're going to get into later on. But those are just a few of the things I found from local people online that were talking about it. I do know somebody who lives in North Carolina who has said to me before I even knew about this church that they believed this church was a cult. I kind of laughed at them, thought that it was in their head, and then I found out that it was this church. So as you can see, there have been rumors of abuse circulating for many, many years. Annie's allegations were mental and physical abuse, harassment, separation from family, and what seemed like exorcisms to me. Will we ever know? Probably not, if Annie is not going to air the footage. But you can watch their trailer, and in the trailer it did seem like they were leading to that point. Like they were trying to allude that they are performing exorcisms at this church. One thing I know about exorcisms is that in recent years there have been an increase in exorcisms, an increase in people's beliefs that they can be possessed by a demon or the devil, and there is a rise in exorcisms happening. So it's not that far off to think that this may be happening in the church. I remember reading an article a while ago, maybe like a year and a half ago, about a mental health professional saying that a lot of people aren't seeking help for their mental health problems and are going to have exorcisms, and obviously it's not solving the problem because a lot of people are not possessed. So news station WSPA 7 News said that 43 former members, of the church talked to the press about years of abuse. 2 of those 43 members did talk to the news station. Their names were Ben and Micah. They were allegedly taught that they were unclean and wicked. They were allegedly physically and mentally abused. Ben claims that he was told he was evil and rebellious for liking sports. Micah claims that she was brainwashed. I believe I'm saying her name right. Jane was supposedly violent on many occasions. So Ben describes the lower building, and he describes something that supposedly happened there. He said that the congregation is placed down in the lower building with no outside communication, and he saw a boy being beaten by a minister as a way to show him the love of God. Ben had voice recordings, which I am going to play for you guys. He had voice recordings that are supposedly of Jane Whaley's voice. This was supposedly from a meeting about the boy's beating, and in the recording you will hear him call her grandmother. She supposedly instructed her congregation to call her grandmother.
We went to her to confront her about why this minister did this and why she hadn't done anything about that minister doing it. So that's what this meeting is about.
Right, but it's not right to use force like that. That's what that could have caused Blair to
Stop it! Let me tell you, you wouldn't be serving God today if some force were not used at you. That's the devil himself speaking out of you.
The grandmother.
So we're going to get into a few different claims, a few different things that came out in the media or in legal action. So in 2003, children were taken from a minister's home for being in an abusive environment. In 2011, a man says that he was held against his will for being gay, but then he later recants that story, so that's important information to your members because we want to get both sides here. In 2013, Matthew Fenner, and this gets a little deep, Matthew Fenner's story. Matthew Fenner says that he was attacked for being gay, and Matthew witnessed members being shouted at for hours to remove demons, which is the blasting prayer. In January 2013, Matthew and almost 20 other congregation members were supposedly beaten for 2 hours. 5 church members were indicted and charged with kidnapping and assault. A month after Matthew's trial, his grandfather was found shot to death in his yard. No one was charged with the shooting, and I cannot say that it was a church member. It is very suspicious timing. That was very suspicious. That's all I can say. I am not saying a church member did it. It's just something to look into. What makes this even more suspicious is that his grandfather testified at the trial. He testified against the minister that was charged with kidnapping and assault. The case did end in a mistrial, and that's why no one has been charged with this. Robert was a minister, so I feel like that would eliminate him having a lot of enemies. We never know. There are clearly corrupt ministers, but I feel like ministers typically are not the victims of a shooting. They're just not. So Inside Edition did a report of alleged abuse in the church. One man's elderly father supposedly had his medication withheld from him prior to dying of a mass heart attack. Darren's mother, sister, and another church member all screamed at him as he was dying of a heart attack, screaming at him to have the demons removed from him. This is allegedly according to the church, but sickness is the work of the devil. By the way, guys, I am so hot, so if I'm sweating, I'm sorry. I didn't want to put the fan on and annoy you all, but... So on Inside Edition, one former member claimed he was hit so hard he almost fell over the desk. Kids were supposedly tied to the chairs in the nursery. There are blasting prayer clips, which I wasn't sure if I wanted to add. I'm going to add them in. Just a little forewarning, they are a little bit uncomfortable to watch. They are very uncomfortable to watch. Actually, I find them uncomfortable to watch. Little children are involved in this. They're taught to do it. They yell at little kids. So here's a couple of clips.
Outsiders seldom see the decidedly different way this secretive sect worships God, regularly screaming to split the ears of devils, delivering this man and others from demons inside them so they can walk with God.
Steal our families in Jesus' name.
But But it's not just the unconventional way they worship. Since early last fall, we've been investigating what they've been doing inside the church to their youngest, most helpless children, all in the name of God.
So Dr. Ruth Peters, who's a child psychologist, says it's definitely child abuse. So blasting prayer in this professional's eyes is child abuse. Another former member says she was never allowed to see her daughter because of the perverted soul ties in them. In us. I guess in everyone. We all have perverted soul ties in us, according to them. A member pleaded guilty to 2 felony charges of indecent liberties with a child, but Pastor Jane Whaley kept it under wraps. And she supposedly admitted this to Inside Edition. So Pastor Jane Whaley allegedly admitted to Inside Edition privately that she also kept other affairs with young girls quiet. So a woman wrote a letter claiming that she was held captive and tied up for 2 weeks, and another former member backed up her story. I have no idea who she is. She clearly wants to remain anonymous, so I can only dive into these claims so much, but that is what she stated. Jane Whaley was convicted of a misdemeanor assault back in 2004 by former member Lacey Ween. I'm not sure how to say her last name. Lacey was suing the church for $2.5 million in a different case. So I know I said earlier that nobody was convicted, and here is the turning point here. After years of appeals, Whaley's conviction was actually overturned. One former member claims that he was brutally paddled for minor incidents involving his school. Word of Faith Fellowship actually runs a school. They supposedly have very strict and forceful punishments that they enforce on the students. 2 different pastors have quit, and they claim that the church brainwashes people. Young members have been told not to contact their family, and soccer was banned. There is a church in Brazil with a lot of the same claims. Blasting prayer, abuse. 3 former members claimed in 2014 that Brazilians brought to the U.S. to work with Americans were not paid, whilst Americans were. They were also allegedly beaten if they disobeyed. I get into my opinions on what happened with A&E, what happened with the church. I think that A&E did pay their participants. I do not know if they paid them to lie. I think they probably compensated them for their time. I think that Word of Faith Fellowship probably threatened to seek legal action. Did they? I don't know. But I think it probably came up, maybe a cease and desist came up. I don't really know. I don't know details. It's speculation right here. Whether the allegations are true or not, I'm sure Word of Faith Fellowship does not like hearing them. And I'm sure they had something to say to A&E. I'm sure they brought up the payments involved and claimed it was bribery, and maybe that is why A&E decided not to go forth with the show. Now, I do not think that every member of the church is evil or bad or mean or terrible humans or abusing people. However, something's going on in that church. There are way too many claims. There's evidence to back up claims. Something's going on in that church. Is everyone a bad person? No. But I don't think that Jane Whaley is a very nice person. I think there is abuse going on in the church. Is it with every minister? Is every minister abusing? I don't know. And again, if every minister is participating in blasting prayer, then you could argue abuse there. Are all these claims true? I can never be sure. I will never be able to sit here and tell you all the claims are true, but I can sit here and say that I do believe, because there are so many claims, something is going on. Something is not right in this church. And it's really a shame that A&E kind of pulled their series. Who knows? Maybe one day it'll air. It looked really good. I really wanted to see it. It was very Leah Remini Scientology-esque. That's the vibe I got. Let me know what you think of Word of Faith Fellowship down below. Let me know what you think of A&E pulling the series down below. I'm sorry that I'm sweating my butt off in this video, but it's 90 degrees and I turned off my fan for you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, let me know if you want to see more videos like this. Let me know if there's any claims that you want me to research down below. If you were a part of Word of Faith Fellowship and you saw this video, this is not me attacking you. These are all public records, which I hope I noted in the beginning of this. I can't remember since I had to refilm it. Court cases become public record. And I was within my rights to research this. I think that is all I wanted to say. I can't remember. I'm so hot. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. And if you have any thoughts at all down below, please leave them. I'm curious to hear what you have to say about this topic. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye! As always, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. And if you're not part of the Gold Team already, I would love to have you here, and you can do so by clicking the icon to the right of me. I promise you it's fun. We have a good time here. And if you're just wanting to watch more paranormal content, I have a few videos linked down below for you guys. So thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you for being here. I hope you enjoyed and have a spectacular day.